For over 1,000 years, Western civilization has been stuck in a dark age of sexual repression and misinformation. We get an oversexed overload from the media, but nothing in the way of honest, helpful, practical information on sex and how to do it right. That sucks, and I'm fucking sick of it. My name's JV Altheras, and I've spent a couple decades learning everything I can about how to have amazing sex and more of it. Not in a classroom like a lot of people who talk about sex. I learned it all in the gutter, right where Mom told me I'd end up. It's my mission to bring an end to the sexual dark age with brutally honest talk and education on all aspects of sex and sexuality, in an atmosphere that will keep you entertained without treating you like an idiot. Shara and I are not doctors. Certifiable, perhaps, but not certified in any way. And that means we don't have to talk about vaginas and penises to maintain academic credibility. You got a problem with a vagina? Call a gynecologist. You want to learn more about pussies and cocks and how to make them happy? You've come to the right place. Greetings and welcome to episode 73 of Ending the Sexual Dark Age. Joining us tonight are our dear friends and fellow Globetrotters, Ginger and the Professor.
Yay!
Woohoo!
Yay! We're so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you here.
Yeah, so we had an absolute blast hanging out with Ginger and Prof at Desire Resort. So we had so much fun, we decided we had to podcast about it. So here they are.
Yes.
To
relive.
I may have talked about it on our last episode a little too much, perhaps.
Well, not too much. I just didn't want you to blow your load on the last episode.
Did you tell secrets, Shara?
No, I never tell secrets. Not ever.
Oh, okay.
I'm very careful about that. But I did brag about, spending time with you guys and how much fun it was and how great you people are and, that kind of thing. So.
Well, we certainly had a blast, and as much fun as it is to be amidst the chaos of lots and lots of people who, happen to want to travel with us and want to get our advice or hear their stories or us share our stories, it was pretty cool to be in a chill space where we were just able to have a nice dinner together, to enjoy our time together, to,
Have public floggings,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was.
Okay, those things too.
It was kind of a stark contrast, and everybody knows this was our second time going to Desire. Mm-hmm. It was a stark contrast to the first trip for exactly the reasons you're saying. It wasn't our trip in November, but certainly it was very different to be there when we didn't already have a connection to just about everybody who was there.
Right.
So it was, and we made friends fast and we had a great time, but it was definitely a lot more mellow. I mean, we spent a lot more time just chilling out on the beach, and it was a nice counterpoint to have fewer activities.
Right.
The activities were fun, but
they were, and the first time we actually met you in person was in the November trip. So this time we had met you, and so now it was a little bit more comfortable, because the first time you meet somebody, you just never know, but you guys are a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. And I would say, in terms of JV, your point about making friends, you had your hat with the card in it about being a kink educator.
Yes.
And we seemed to find a bunch of kinky people, even out in the wild.
We really
right?
did. Yeah.
I'm telling you.
So tell us about that. Like, what kind of conversations did that spark up?
Well, it was actually funny. I got more reactions from the resort staff than I got from other people.
And about your tattoos as well.
Yeah, and it was people were constantly stopping me to talk about my tattoos, which is great. I mean, one thing tattooed people love to do is talk about their tattoos.
Right.
But it was funny that I spent a lot more time talking about them this trip than I did in November.
Yes, it was. I mean, I'm not kidding. Every time we walked a couple feet, somebody would stop him and say, "Oh man, can I see the rest of your tattoo?" And and then they would read the sex educator, and then they'd smile and they'd point and they'd laugh, and
we got probably more nervous laughs than we did actual engagement out of that, because it was what did the hat sign say? It said kink educator, ask me anything.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, but furthering on the kink, we showed up on this trip deciding that the kink wasn't really front and center for us or for the group in general in November. We ended up bringing a lot of that out, which was a blast. But this time, there was kind of no expectations and no regrets. So we got to do we had quite a bit of public floggings, a lot of public kink, and I must say it was certainly, it was well received, and we drew audiences. The first night that we were playing up at the hot tub, Ginger and Prof, you guys beat us up there. So you had one of the beds that was up there, and the others were all full, and you were kind enough to allow me to lash shower to your bedpost and start playing with her. But that night, there was a foursome going on the adjacent bed, and between the four of us, we stopped them cold. They actually stopped fucking to watch us.
We stop foursomes. That is true. We'll stop them dead. We stop vanilla sex dead in its tracks. So yeah, I know a lot of your listeners have heard about the resort, but it's awesome because there are places to put your kink on display and have fun, and it does help other folks get acclimated to that kind of play, people who might not have had direct experience with it. So a lot of people watched that night, and we definitely, there is a kink bed in particular. It's a recurring
Is it
kink
that bed? It is that bed in the
bed,
corner.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so-
from our perspective, the only other time, like that's the bed, like that bed around the corner for some reason seems to beckon people to be, tied to it, to be,
Well, when you say people, you mean you.
me.
Really.
Oh, and
Yeah,
Shara.
I feel, and Shara. I feel,
And then we had that
Yeah.
one couple that while you were on the bed and I was tied to the bed, that couple that, of course, I was busy, but
Yeah, you were half in subspace. You heard most of the story afterwards.
so where he came, I tell the story because it was
So,
funny.
well, to set the scene, for those who have never been to Desire, the hot tub lounge or the rooftop jacuzzi lounge has 6 or 7 like 4-post beds with this sheer white fabric around them. So if you want to pretend you have a little bit of privacy while you're fucking in public, you can.
Because no one's watching.
They
right?
are thankfully rather sturdy. And we spent quite a bit of time lashing people to various parts of these things. And while I would not go full suspension on them, I mean, as far as most of your bondage needs, they are ready for the task.
We could use a crane at some point for full suspension.
Oh, well, next time you guys are in
Get one
Detroit,
from-
we do have a 5-ton crane. I'm just saying.
Get one, pull one over from the neighboring construction site.
Oh, that
Right,
would have been
right.
great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when we got up there, Ginger and Prof were already playing, and I last showered to the bedpost and started giving her a flogging. And
JV, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but you used a new technique, you were saying, because you used some of the bondage tape. That was the first time you'd used that.
yeah, it was the first time we used it in any real kind of play, and it worked out very well.
It did.
It was quick, easy. It's very, very adaptable. So it was easy to just wrap it around her wrists a few times and then wrap it around the post. And there was a lot of spontaneity involved. Even
I liked it, yeah.
Yeah, it was. So
I
even
liked
with,
it too.
with the wrist restraints and everything, there's a sensual aspect to the process of binding someone, but it's
No,
also
there's-
it's tough.
Binding should be expedited. So
I tend to agree. That was one of our dinner conversations, I think.
I'm
It
going
was
to
one of our
get
dinner
a case
conversations.
of that tape now that I see how easy it is, because it's like I don't have to buckle anything anymore. I'm too lazy to tie a rope. I'm now too lazy to buckle things. It's all about the bondage tape.
All right. So at least I know. So JV has now bound Shara to the bedpost
Yes.
with the tape.
Yes.
Continue to set the scene.
So I'm just in the process of flogging her. We're having a good time. The new flogger. Both Prof and I had our new floggers there, so that was fun. That was the first time I think they were used in unison. At one point, I'm into what I'm doing, and somebody taps me on the shoulder, and I turn around, and there's a guy standing there with his woman, and like she's bending over a table, and he's pointing at her ass. And it becomes clear immediately they speak no English at all.
So that's the international sign for flog my wife?
Yes.
Is that what I'm
yes,
hearing?
that's the
Okay.
international sign for hit that ass. So
Now you're sure it wasn't tap that ass? It was hit the ass.
I'm not sure of anything, so I was just going
I had
with,
to ask.
with what was least likely to keep me from getting asked to leave. Yeah, so she's wiggling her ass. So, but I'm like, we're kind of in the middle of something, So I'm trying to be friendly and accommodating, but Shara is all the way in subspace at this point, barely maintaining her vertical stature. And so I hit her a few times, and then I turned around, and got back to Shara. So a couple of minutes later, he puts her hands up against the bedpost right next to Shara and starts fucking her, standing next to us. And he's pointing at her back, like wanting me to flog her while he's fucking her from behind, standing up. And I didn't hit him in the face, but it took a lot of effort not to hit the guy in the face. I mean, it was just kind of a surreal situation.
Yeah. I will say her hair smelled really good.
It's like you wanted to hand him a set of safety goggles and like a hard hat.
Right.
Be like, okay, dude, if this is what you need, then okay, I'm down with it, but you need some protective gear because I can't guarantee you're not going to get hit in the midst of this.
Safety first.
Yeah, so at one point
Right.
he starts grabbing Shara's ass, and I mean we're generally up for that kind of thing, but there's normally some English spoken beforehand.
I had no idea who was grabbing me.
You just knew there were lots of hands, baby. Your big takeaway was her hair smelled nice. That was
Everything felt good, so I'm not going to complain.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, it was getting to the point where I was wondering if I was going to have to stop the show and chill this fucking guy out, because
Right.
I mean, he was certainly. I mean, he was inviting me to play with her, all well and good, but still, kind of party crashers at that point.
Right.
Her hair at least smelled good, and I had a nice view in front of me. There was Ginger laying there,
Well, I was going to say, I seem to have vague recollection, and maybe, Shara, you can corroborate this or not. I don't know where your head was, but I seem to remember being on my back with my ankles lashed above my head to the post
Yes.
at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Good.
It was a nice view, let me just say. It was a nice
So,
view.
yeah, there was a lot. That bed was being taxed to the maximum at that point, if I'm not mistaken.
I was kind of thinking that we were going to start getting this group of people coming around the side because they couldn't see between myself and then JV and then this other couple. They couldn't see Ginger, and it was a nice view, so they're probably going, come on, people, get out of the way,
Well, that bed is kind of secluded. There's no direct view from the hot tub, but I mean, apparently,
Right.
Oh, I saw one night. I could see.
well, the second night, yes, we were on different beds. The second night we were up there playing, but that was, and I had kind of a surreal experience that night. A friendly little blonde that we met and had some nice conversations with was dying to get a flogging. So, I don't know. I think it was that night. Yeah. Cause it was one of our first nights there and they were only there for a couple of days. After we were done playing, she came up and asked for a flogging, and I asked, I had the regular questions, do you like stingy or thuddy? And she's like, well, I don't know. She says, do anything you want to me. I just don't like pain.
I remember this conversation.
Yeah. So I was just, it takes a lot to put me back on my heels and put me in a space where I really don't know what to say. But I mean, that did it to me for a second.
JV, if I ever get flogged, that's pretty much my answer too. Do whatever you want with me as long as it feels like tickly feathers that make me happy.
Yeah, so she was interested in the experience because she had read 50 Shades of Grey and was trying, to embark on her own journey, but she had never had a flogging before, and thankfully I had our noisemaker flogger with us. The warm. Well, you guys have played with it. It's our lightest flogger, the lightest flogger I've ever seen. And it weighs almost nothing, and it just doesn't hurt.
Talking about the red one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had that. So thankfully, I had a tool in the bag for that job. But I mean, if
you have a tool in the bag for every job.
Thank you.
Let's not kid around.
I think you guys do pretty well
we
too.
do our
I'll
best.
tell you.
Yeah, and so do you. Exactly.
Well, speaking of tools in the bag, I have to say that wielding the dual dragon floggers was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't think I got around to that on this last trip. How was that?
Well, so that's a separate story. So before we get to that, we were both separately wielding the dragon floggers.
Indeed, yes.
And I have our flogger has a name. In Game of Thrones style, our flogger is Drogon.
Okay.
So we have the black dragon. I don't know if you guys need to name your dragon flogger or not. But
Well, it hadn't really occurred to me, but now I have to.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
as Shara has pointed out, I have an edge to my flogging, and an unmerciful edge. So, I figure, the meanest, blackest, nastiest dragon on Game of Thrones is a good indicator of my dragon's persona. And we were having fun with them separately, but I did the other night. I forget which night now. They all kind of blend together.
Yeah,
which is the awesome thing about being on vacation.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that other night.
The second round of public floggings.
Right. I did go for the Florentine with both dragon floggers, and I don't know, how was it, Jen?
Well, it's intense. I mean, it was intense. I mean, Shara, you know this. Like one's plenty. one is like, wow, that's intense. That's amazing. I mean, these floggers are something to behold. And then when Florentine is like, when that stimulation is coming at you, it's nonstop. And when it's that flogger nonstop, it's a lot of intensity. And at one point, I do think, not to critique your style, Prof, but, I know it was new for you, but those floggers are substantial. And at one point, I remember thinking, like, I think I was still wearing panties, and one of them kind of like, I don't know if one of the dragons like bit my panties or something.
It's possible. Or it's just possible that Don Julio was not helping my coordination.
Yeah, Don Julio as a third sometimes can throw a whole big wrench in the works. But moral of the story
Which is why I had, complete, okay, it was great to play with you in that way, but at that juncture, I think the judgment was not appropriate for other people. So yeah,
absolutely. Like, you could go there and flog me a bit with Florentine. It was awesome and fun. The floggers are beautiful and substantial and impressive, and yeah.
Well, and as we started to compare notes, they have they take on very different natures depending on where you're holding it on the handle.
Absolutely.
And how the falls are falling, and really even how the dragon's mouth is positioned relative to the strike, because there is a way to keep them all together, and then there's a way to kind of fan them out depending on how the dragon is.
And Shara, I don't know about you, but dinner conversation when JV and Prof were talking about that, yeah, I was squirming a lot during that conversation.
I have to say, I did not think I would like this flogger because of I thought it was going to be very similar to your other one,
the original dragon flogger. Yes, which is much lighter and very stingy.
Right, and so I was amazed at how much I love this flogger. I mean, I come so easily. It is just, I do, and it's just absolutely amazing to me. And I have to shout out to David that made them, because he is just awesome.
Oh my gosh, yes. I can't wait to meet him. I'm going to what do you do? Kiss his feet?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you do? I don't know.
Oh, he would be honored by a thank you. Those are actually his first floggers. So
yes, we're going to be out with him Friday.
Yes,
a week from today.
Yes, we're going to see him. No, Saturday. Yeah, week from tomorrow.
Saturday.
But yeah, we're hanging out with him and his wife very soon, and he's been a friend of mine for almost as long as anybody else on the planet has. I mean, I've known him for 21 years now, 22 years.
Oh, that is cool.
And he is an artist who can work with just about any medium.
He's amazing.
Well, that is obvious. I craft myself, or fashion. I don't craft myself. I fashion myself as being able to craft many things. And I looked at this and I thought, I don't even know where to fucking start. Like, there is so much going on relative to the metalwork and the leather. It is it's perfectly balanced. So yes, I am happy to do whatever we can to help him start his flogging business and make many more people happy.
Well, and I don't know if we've made it clear, but this was a gift from JV and Shara,
yes.
and we I can't ever thank you enough for all of the pleasure it's already given, but how much fun it was to be in that space together with the two of you and enjoy that over and over again while we were there. Whether we were talking about it at dinner or whether we were enjoying it together.
Dinner conversation.
To a bed.
Dinner conversation was, I have to say,
Top notch.
top notch. It was, and I agree with you, Ginger. There was a lot of squirming in my seat because I was like, did I wear panties or not? No, I did.
That's desire, probably not.
No, I think don't they have a rule that you're supposed to when you go out to eat, right?
Here is the reverse sexism of desire. They control what men wear. You girls could walk in there with electrical tape over your nipples and it would be fine.
Right.
You could walk in there dressed in 6 pieces of electrical tape and probably not get thrown out.
That is true. From somebody who's actually been asked to leave a restaurant and go change, that is...
You have.
I know I have.
Oh, really? I was wondering if they actually enforce that. I've never pushed it.
Oh, they do.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So now, So now you know.
It's like the fucking country club of swingers, right?
Excuse me, sir. I don't see your jacket and tie.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, here I am in my 6 pieces of electrical tape, and I'm passing muster somehow. I'm not quite sure how that works.
I'm not sure either.
Well, you wouldn't pass muster. You get the golf clap as you're walking by other people's tables.
That's fair.
Well done.
Right.
That's true.
But it was
So-
a lot of fun.
In addition to there being definitely low key and what have you, were there other pieces of this last trip in April that were notable for you guys?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll let you go ahead, Shara.
Okay, so this one is just kind of simple, but I loved it because JV really doesn't like to. He's not one to sit out in the sun and just relax in the sun, and
I am restless.
he gets antsy. And so this was great because we had the bed that was right by the bar. So I mean, like literally, he could just put his hand out and say,
within leaning distance of the cantina.
CJ. It was wonderful.
Oh, perfect.
And,
yeah.
And she's like
Sí,
all
sí,
over
uno
it.
más.
And she's wonderful. She's like all over it, But it was great to be able to just relax with him out there all day and not feel like, he was so relaxed, and it was like our getaway. We just really needed that. So that was probably my favorite part, is just spending the whole day just relaxing and talking about sex. And I tell our listeners, if there's one trip that you're not sure if you can afford it or not, the Desire trip is so worth it, because it's so, I leave there so relaxed and so rejuvenated that it's like, give me more. I could stay forever,
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it was a lot of little things that were just great about the trip. I quit smoking cigarettes a little over 2 years ago, and I have not smoked any tobacco of any kind since then. And once upon a time, I would enjoy a cigar now and again. I was never a regular smoker of cigars, but I enjoyed one now and again, and we happened to have ready, easy access. In fact, I was gifted several Cuban cigars. So that was a great opportunity for me to try cigars again. And that worked out. Oh, those cigars were fantastic.
And once again, you were a great sharer. I got to enjoy one of them. It was fantastic.
Well,
Ginger
it was
did
an
too.
embarrassment of riches.
Ginger did too.
It was the popping of my cigar cherry, if we could be
Yes.
very clear about it. I'd never smoked a cigar before, and there was a big part of that was really, really fun for me. Just the fact that the 4 of us could sit back.
Just putting something in your mouth is fun.
Oh, stop with my oral fixation. Okay. Freud would have a lot to say about me, but let's be clear. We were sitting back in that awesome little nook.
Yes.
And that was the crazy night. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was kind of the crazy night where, first of all, Prof kind of flung the cigar in its glass, test tube from his pocket while he was either dancing. Oh, we were dancing.
Yes.
You and I were dancing.
We were
swing dancing. We were jitterbugging, and the cigar that JV had given him was in this awesome test tube thing, and it flew from his pocket. It shattered. And
didn't
of course,
occur to me that it was glass, by the way.
it didn't occur to me either.
Me
which
either.
was actually remarkable. So it flew from your pocket and then it broke and then it was like, oh, get the cigar. And we did. And we kind of were like, oh my gosh, there's all this glass. And they came and cleaned it up and it was wonderful. And we kept dancing and it was wonderful. But it was one of those like very surreal nights because that happens. And in the meantime, I don't know if you guys remember this night that clearly, but there was a transformer.
Yes.
Oh, that was
big,
awesome.
huge
Yeah.
guy
Oh,
on
hell
stilts in this huge transformer outfit. There was the white rabbit. There was some dude, woman, person, human in a rabbit costume. There was the Queen of Hearts. There was this whole sort of you're not tripping, but you are
Yes.
sort of experience. And in the meantime, we're sitting in the corner presiding over the entire resort, smoking cigars. I was having a moment. It was an amazing moment, but it was bizarre and awesome.
You definitely were having that moment because I mean, I enjoyed listening to you about it, but you couldn't stop talking about how you were having this moment. And so it was so cute. And I don't know if you saw, but during one of the dances, the rabbit someone was standing behind the rabbit and had a fucking motion going on, from behind.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
oh my God.
it was
Dry humping the rabbit.
Yeah, so I was like, I wonder
Yeah.
if Ginger saw that because that was another one of those
Well,
moments.
that's welcome to my life, Shara. Ginger has those moments all the time.
I
Yeah,
love them.
someone could have been at that resort selling acid for $500 a hit and cleaning up because that
Yeah.
Didn't need it.
that
Well-
that
I
was
felt
quite
like
a party that night.
The Cuban cigars could have been soaked in something. You never really know.
I don't know because that was exactly my point. Was that night was so, I mean, I loved hanging out. I don't know how long we hung out there.
It's quite a
But
while.
that was quite a long while. And that was what I loved about that experience with you guys was being able to just like sink into that experience and chat and connect and, notice things that are happening around us and whatever. And that was just a really cool experience for me to sink into. And so, that
Well, that's kind of the same as what Shara was saying.
right.
About the vacation, and then you have these highlight moments, the things that
Right.
stick out, but you have all of this time to sink into being,
Mm-hmm.
to sink into chatting with friends, and to sink into these surreal things that you see, whether that's the entertainment staff, whether it's other people having sex on beds or doing a kink demonstration or whatever. It's so much fun to be able to just be in that space so consistently that you can kind of sink deeper and deeper into it and enjoy it in all these different dimensions.
It is, and this was our second time there, but I have to say, our butler recognized us right away,
Yeah.
and some of the other people that worked there, they just were
Well,
like,
Africa and Cece remembered us, and I mean,
Yep.
it's not a big resort. There are like 108 rooms, but I mean, that means there are 216 guests there, potentially all the time, and
Right.
to be remembered 6 months later after
Right.
we've been there once
Yeah.
was impressive. I mean,
yes,
it's
it was.
quite
We
a
were.
staff
Yeah,
there.
we were comparing notes just because we have been lucky enough to be having gone now for 8 years.
8 years. Wow.
Yeah, 7 years. No, it's 7 years, 10 times.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So we did the math after, but so many of those folks have been there every single time. And so, again, another thing I know a lot of your listeners, when they think about where they go and how they spend their vacation money, well, it's such an awesome place because the staff is consistent and it does feel like home. The catchphrase that they use when you get there is they say, "Welcome home." And it really feels that way
It does.
because the staff makes it awesome. The space is awesome. You have all of this openness, great conversations. You can be as social or not as social as you want to be. So it really does kind of all fit together.
Well, and one of the things that you touched on that we have been trying to stress to the audience as we invite them to join us in November is probably more so on this trip because the last trip is put together by a swinger podcast. But there were a lot more people who were just monogamous people who were hanging out naked in paradise on this trip. So it's also a great place to do that. So, you know, you don't need to be intimidated or, you know, think there are going to be any expectations of, you know, whatever time you spend there. Do whatever the hell you want.
Well, and you tease me a lot, but it's true about this. There's a lot of people who are like, I don't know if I could do that, and I don't know if I could do this, and I don't know if I want to swing. I said, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. It's whatever you and your partner agree to. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. And I admit, I said, I told JV, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go naked because I had put on some weight with the stress of the business and everything. And, you know, and so I was like, I don't know, but couple Bloody Marys. Next thing you know, in the November trip, my clothes came off, and it wasn't as difficult in April. It was easier.
Right.
So many great stories start that way. My clothes came off.
My clothes came off.
Yeah.
Well, and what I find fascinating, so, you know, not to continue to necessarily juxtapose the trips, but it is different to show up there not with a group. And so we, you know, there were a handful of people that we knew from before, and we certainly knew you guys and were excited to spend time with you guys when we got there, and that was part of the deal. And yet still, you know, in the hot side of the hot tub, there was a group of people that we seem to gather around us and have, you know, be social with. And you go to that place of, you know, it's about being social. It's about connecting with people. And even though that week at the resort, there was no group. So that was rare from our experience when it comes to, like, Prof and I have vacationed at Hedo 3 existed. And then, you know, our experiences going to Desire have typically been with a group, whether we've been hosting or other awesome people have been hosting. We've been there with a group. And this was one of the handful of times where there hasn't been a quote unquote group, but we knew we were going to see you guys. We knew that there were going to be a handful of other people at the resort that we knew, but it certainly wasn't a group, and we had no hosting responsibilities. And yet at the same time, we were able to be social. We were able to make lots of friends. We were able to have connections with people throughout the resort the entire time. And I'm interested in your experience, given that it was your second time, because certainly Prof and I have been there a number of times in the sense that we tend to land there about the same time. Sometimes people land when there are multiple guests to the resort, but for it being your second time, what was that like for you guys to land there and make friends?
For me, it was just as enjoyable as in November. And I think one of the things that made it so nice was when we first got there, so many of the people that worked there recognized us. And the November trip, there was a lot of people there. So for them to recognize us, you know, for it only being our second time, of course, I think it was JV's long hair and his tattoo, but you know,
I may be notable. I may stand out in a crowd.
Yes, you both are beautifully distinctive, by the way, and that's a beautiful thing to have happen. So enjoy that.
So, but I felt as much love and affection on the April trip as I did in November. As soon as we got into the hot tub, I'll use that one as my example before you tell your story, JV. But there was a couple sitting there, and immediately they introduced themselves, and we introduced ourselves, and, you know, they just started talking with us and going on to long conversations. And then the group just kept growing as it did the November, maybe not as big, but people kept coming up, and just everybody was so friendly. And that's one of the things that I think I probably talk a lot about going to Desire is how wonderful everybody is there. I've only been there twice, but both times we've had a great experience, and we didn't want to leave. You know, we wanted to stay, right?
Yeah.
Just drop me off down the road. I'll swim back in.
Yeah. Past the crocodile on the left.
How about you?
Yeah, so for me, I was going in with the expectation that in whatever ways it was going to be a lot different than November, because we knew you guys were going to be there. We were really excited to be able to, hang out with you guys when there wasn't as much going on. Mm-hmm. So that was so much fun. It was a great part of the trip, because we had people that were always there to hang out with, but it wasn't the entire resort. And I think the biggest difference is there were no demands on our time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that to sound negative about the November trip, because there were so many really cool things going on that we wanted to be a part of. But at the same time, there were a lot of things going on. So it felt a little bit hectic and a little bit frantic sometimes, trying to finish one thing to get to the next, because you're just trying to take it all in and experience everything. And this time for me was just, there was nothing to do in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So it became about laying on the beach. And that was really, that was kind of a Zen experience for me, because I have such an incredibly high stress level at our company. For me to actually be able to relax enough, being able to take a 2-hour nap on the freaking beach in the Caribbean in the middle of the afternoon on a weekday.
And I just want to say, the fact that you did take a nap, because you get so antsy, I was like, I'm thankful to the two of you, because you suggested, that bed on that side would be really comfortable, and you guys did, and so I said let's try it, and so then we set it up for the whole week, and it was great.
Shara, you're the one that wore them out.
The whole thing about our trip was, you know what? If it's just the two of us and all we're doing is relaxing, that's okay. And a lot of sex and, get away from everything else that we have to deal with here. And it was great, because we relaxed a lot, played a lot, and got to enjoy a lot of time with you guys. And then, of course, that whole evening with the Transformer, I mean, he was out there for a long time.
Oh yeah, it was, and of course, because I build things, I have to deconstruct everything that I look at. So here's what it was. It was a guy who was about 5'10" or something. So a fairly regular sized guy on drywall stilts.
Yep, I saw
and
that.
And around him was built up this transformer that was full of LED strips that were controlled on a chase. So it was this flashing, crazy, 9.5 foot tall transformer that was dancing with people and bending them over the table and pretending he's fucking them. And it was amazing.
Ginger was dancing with him. And did you notice where her head landed on him?
Oh yeah.
I'm saying, it was good. I enjoyed the view, and I was
Is that your dipstick? Or you're just happy to see me?
Right, exactly.
And I want to back up for 1 second, because I just want to say that I was very glad that Prof's cigar case did not bust on his ass, because that could have been a lot of glass there that landed on his ass instead of on the floor.
I do not want glass in my ass.
I know you don't. I didn't think you were into that kind of pain.
Yeah, that was everything about that worked out beautifully, and I think we handled it with grace.
Absolutely,
all of us.
Absolutely. Well, we were responsible. We hung around until someone was there to clean it up. So
made sure that the glass was dealt with, and I had to go dance in the meantime, but I knew you guys were making it all work out. But Shara, I will say that was one of the joys of the experience for us, was being able to have those dinners with you guys and to be able to really see the two of you sink into that experience in a way that is different from when everybody, you have this amazing, wonderful pressure to be social.
Right.
You want to be social. You want to enjoy every second of time with people, because so many people when you're traveling with a group that's that big. But when you land a desire in a different time and you aren't familiar with that many people, you're able to do that couple thing that I find so valuable, that Prof and I, certainly because we've been there so many times, we were practiced at it. But I was excited to see you and JV really sink into that experience of, when you want to nap, you nap. When you want to go play together, you go play together. And it has a different speed. And yet at the same time is still wonderfully social.
It is. I mean, when we were getting ready to go, I was like, it's not going to be the same because all the people that were there in November, I'm going to miss not seeing them, and I wish they were all coming. And then I went, but on the other hand, we'll have time to probably enjoy with Ginger and Prof and meet some other people. And both, while they were so different, were both so great. Both trips were phenomenal.
Yeah, so I'm going to just let the cat out of the bag.
Oh, boy. I'm
Ready?
I'm a little afraid. I don't even know.
No, we are totally doing this over and over again.
The
I'm
April
just gonna
trip.
say, well, no, the November trip and the April trip.
Right.
So
Yes.
Right.
We are
Okay.
too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We're making this a habit, and we did hatch plans.
Yes.
So
Decisions
I don't know.
decisions made while naked on the beach with the Bloody Mary.
I don't know if you guys
Right.
are
The
up
best
for it, but I
decisions
think
ever.
it'd be awesome to talk a little bit about really fun plans because we have November coming up.
Yes.
It is.
I have to interrupt, Prof. He looked at his watch that he's not wearing when he
Yeah,
said we've
November.
hatched plans. That's adorable.
It's there. I can.
Okay.
I'm channeling it, but
Okay. But we're talking about April.
well, no. So let's talk first about November because when we talk about November, we are talking about the Life on the Swing Set trip, and it is quickly filling
It's mostly
up.
full.
Yeah.
Let's be
Yeah.
clear. Yeah. There are
So-
10 rooms left.
If there are folks that are still into going, and the 10 rooms do not include JV and Shara's rooms, I don't think.
Yes, we have a block of 10 rooms, and we still had some left the last time I talked to Jim, which was when we were in Desire in April. We still had some left, so I'm not sure what the exact status is. But
should check that out.
So
They're
Jen,
moving.
There's a
Jen-
handful.
So Jen, do the shameless. But what are the dates for that trip, and how do we?
Oh, it's the 7th through the 14th, and it's Shar Travel, and folks who I'm sure they can contact JV and Shara and say, hey, we want to come with you because you guys are awesome. Because of course they would.
Do they have to use that high pitched voice?
Actually,
can.
we can do some podcasting feng shui because we actually have an advertising spot, and we can take a break right now and roll the Desire spot.
We could do that too. Whatever
Done.
you guys want. Absolutely.
All right, we'll be back right after this. If you've listened to episode 63 or 65, you already know what an amazing time Shara and I had at Desire Resort and Spa in Cancun last November.
In fact, we can't wait to go back this November, and we're taking you with us.
We managed to snag a block of rooms just for our listeners, so grab your playmate and come spoil yourselves with a week of clothing-optional, couples-only paradise surrounded by sexy, amazing people.
We'll be sharing the resort with the Life on the Swing Set crowd, so we can promise you that whether you decide to play well with others or just have a perfect week with your partner, it will be a week you'll never forget.
The trip is November 7th to 14th, and for more details, just check out sexualdarkage.com and follow the Desire Trip 2015 link at the top of every page, or contact Shar Travel at 215-321-4451 and tell them you want to do Desire with JV and Shara. It only takes one night's room fees to lock in your reservation, and these rooms go fast, so don't wait. If you only take one vacation in 2015, you should come do Desire with us. When we were researching budget bondage gear at a listener's request, we stumbled onto ExtremeRestraints.com and found the most impressive bondage gear site on the internet. And we don't say that lightly.
We bought a bunch of toys to try them out, and we're so impressed with the selection, quality, and service that we reached out to them about sponsoring the show.
From basic whips to top-notch floggers, from beginner cuffs to shackles and cages, from nipple clamps to fucking machines, from budget to bad fucking ass. ExtremeRestraints.com has put together an immense catalog of kinky gear that we honestly believe is second to none on the internet.
And not only do they offer a free gift and 99-cent toys for new customers, plain brown wrapper shipping, and free shipping on orders over $119, they'll give you 10% off if you enter the promo code ESDA at checkout.
And that's not 10% off on your first order. It's 10% off every order, forever, as long as you enter the code. Because they're awesome and they support this show. You can listen to episode 70 for more details, or just check out ExtremeRestraints.com, use the promo code ESDA, and get your kink on. And we're back.
So, thanks for that, Jen, in terms of your shameless plug of
and
the
then
November trip, because, to the extent that we want to have fun, kinky, sexy people there, this is the place to recruit them.
Yes.
Avi, right?
Right.
So there's November, and I do have some questions about November, because we've talked a lot about our relaxing, rejuvenating trip, and now that we're completely recapitulated, we're scheming all sorts of fun, sexy things with JV and Shara for the November trip.
Oh,
and
yes.
I believe I'm just going to say it right now. I think we have to call permanent kinksies on that bed.
I concur.
Did he just say permanent kinksies? Is that a thing?
It is now.
Okay.
It's
so
going to be one
permanent
of those.
kinksies has been called.
It's going to be one of those words
And-
that are now going to be on the Scrabble board.
Yeah.
Right.
Kinksies.
Kinksies. Okay, so permanent kinksies are called on that.
I think Ginger's head has just been...
I just had a brain explosion. So let's put it out there that obviously kinksters are welcome because we've broken the seal.
Yes.
We have broken the seal.
Fairly
and I
thoroughly.
When I say we, I mean all of us.
all four of us, yeah. Well, and some other kinksters on the November
on some
trip.
earlier trips,
Yes.
absolutely.
Right. But let's just say, as a point of historical reference, that the demonstration of kink in more of a public way at the hot tub beds has been much less. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody playing kinky up there the way that our groups have.
I've only been there twice,
No.
but I agree. You guys have been there more.
Yeah.
But we've not seen that, so it's a beautiful thing to be able to put that out
Oh,
there.
good. Yeah,
I
because
think
we didn't
people-
know, being our only our second time there, we didn't know what generally flies there or what people generally do. So,
Well, it's a whole nother discussion podcast in terms of what kind of kink usually flies within the swinger community because of the different, norms and mores. But I do believe that we have set a good precedence. I believe that it has been well accepted, as evidenced by our earlier story of stopping sex for people watching. And
Of
other people coming
JV
up.
basically needing a velvet rope. Okay, stand back, people.
Yes,
Stand back, get in line.
We do
Get in
need,
line.
We need to get him a bouncer.
you wait your turn.
We do need to
Yeah.
get you a bouncer, JV.
Yeah. I think Dylan would make a really good bouncer.
Yes.
Oh, and actually, while we're still on the topic, one more thing I have to share with the audience. For the first time in my life, I got heckled while being kinky up at Desire.
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
You did. I remember this.
Yeah, so the second on our second night of public floggings, Shara was she wanted to lay down so she could just totally relax, and she got about an hour-long mellow flogging, and so
And you needed some refreshment.
yes.
So I brought you some refreshment.
That was so awesome. Yeah, Ginger asked me if I need anything from the bar while I'm while I'm doing this marathon flogging, and that was so awesome because I really needed a drink.
And I heard her, but I was in subspace, not
Right.
totally there, but I could hear it and I was like, oh, that was so sweet.
Yeah, so I'm
Aw.
flogging Shara, and this couple sits down at one of the small tables that are in the middle of that area. And watches, which is great because that's half what we were there for, is to invite questions and invite people to partake. And I'm in the middle of flogging Shara, and I'm going a little mellow on her because she's been there for a while, right? I don't want to turn her into ground beef. And this woman goes, "You're supposed to be doing that harder, just so you know."
That is awesome.
And I said, "Oh, are you volunteering?"
Thank you.
And she says, "No, I'm just giving instruction."
That was priceless. And I feel like I was kind of privy to that. And then part of me, the sub part of me was sort of cowering at that point. I was kind of Oh boy, did she really just say that at that point? Like, did she really just? You were very graceful about that feedback. I will tell you, JB, that was very graceful.
Well, it was kind of a choice to make because I mean, at that point, I would have been justified in saying virtually anything, and many things came to mind, but I didn't want to break the mood. You know, Shara was really flogging. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of let it roll off. But yeah, in a different circumstance, I may have reacted differently.
Yeah.
And
so, go ahead, Shara.
I'll do this part fast because I talked with the two of you about this before, and I hope we can always delete it if it's not okay to say. But in November when we were with you guys at dinner, and you know you were in your dominant role, Prof, and Ginger was in her sub role. I can't tell you what it was for me to watch you, Ginger, switch over into the dominant role when you walked away and were dealing with another couple and your dominant role came out and then you came back and you became a submissive again to Prof. I was like, wow, that is just amazing. How do you do that? Because I don't know that I could ever do that, but it was amazing. So when you said the sub in you, I was like, yes, but I saw the dominant in you. It's awesome too.
Yeah.
Yes, it's awesome.
Yeah. So. Well, thank you for saying that. No, I'd love to talk about that. And I'd love to, I think we had previous plans to talk about switchiness at some point, and we'll do that on a whole separate episode because I feel like that's worthy of its own attention.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah. And I will say, like, Shara, you've really brought that to my consciousness because you've noticed it. And one of the things that I was going to mention to JV that maybe you didn't know, Shara, when I walked up to that bed and he was enjoying flogging you and I was enjoying watching. First of all, I was watching and I was kind of like creeping closer. I was watching and then I was getting closer and then I was watching and I was getting closer. And then at one point, you know, and I was super turned on. And at one point, JV kind of offered me kind of the hilt of a flogger, but I had been drinking and I didn't feel confident that I could be controlled. I could be, you know, what I needed to be in a dominant role at that point. So I declined the invitation, as delicious as it felt, and then, you know, got him a beverage because I felt like that was like, you know, okay, I can do this thing. But it was one of those moments where I was like, wow, like being a switch is a pretty cool thing. And it felt really sexy and awesome for me. And watching you both together doing your thing, you, Shara, being in that place and JV, you being in that place, and really kind of being on a seesaw. Like like feeling the energy of both and feeling the flow was really a sexy experience for me. So I just want to put that out there as like, the counterpoint to you noticing my switchiness at dinner was my counterpoint of experiencing the switchiness, watching the flow of your energy together. It was really sexy for me.
Oh, thank you.
So on the Kinksy's bed
yes.
for November, there will be a sign that says Ginger, and then it's going to be like Domina is in or sub is in, just so people know.
Well, we have plenty of time to fabricate something. So
which Ginger, you know, it's worthy of publicizing. But
it sounds like I need to borrow JV's hat.
Oh, I like that.
Yes,
I like that.
No, but I do, and I don't. I love reliving, but I'm future focused right now.
I'm with you. Okay.
You might say fixated. Thinking about November and knowing that we've broken the kink seal now. We've done it on the November trip last year. Now we did it in the wild. So we're coming back to November. We know it's an awesome group. And there are still a couple slots available for more kinky people. But we are going to totally be you know, I think... I don't want to schedule it because I don't want it to be something that becomes an obligation. You know, like flogging Ginger is an obligation. Here we go again.
I'll bring the cheese plate and
more
fruit plate.
Yeah. Oh, yay!
Right.
Time to go down to the salt mines.
Right.
So, But I do think it would be awesome to have some kind of... Somebody needs to be tied up every night. That's all I have to say.
I agree.
I'll do it.
Okay.
So after Shara gets tied up, I'm second in line.
Shara and Ginger, and then
What if we were
and then whoever
what if we were
else.
tied
There
together?
are 4 posts.
Well, and we have not tied the two of them together yet.
That'd be
Prof.
fun. Did
That
I say
is
that
true.
out loud? What is wrong with
I
me?
know, Shara.
What's wrong with me?
These are the moments where the two of us kind of have those moments where you're like, oh gosh.
What did we just do?
You know what, though?
Do
You
we
know
really
what?
need to encourage
All
them?
I have
Really?
to say is, I know that when you guys envision being tied together, you're thinking all like body to body, back to back.
Ooh.
Because that will just piss you both off.
Okay, you're envisioning that. We're envisioning something different, I think.
Yeah, I know.
He's
the
Such
point.
a dominant,
He's a-
I swear.
So
He's a deep sadist, this guy
back
right
to
here.
back.
And I
That's
have
fine.
noticed thus far we do work pretty well together.
I was just going to say
So-
that
You do.
You
know,
girls do
Yeah, I know.
do reap the rewards more often than
and
not.
We do.
sometimes, I'm in real trouble because there's the 3 of you. So sometimes that side of Ginger that comes out, it
Yeah.
can be like, okay, Shara, what
Well,
did you just do to yourself
so-
here?
Yeah,
in
that's
November,
fair.
I am going to get more of the tape, the bondage
I was planning
tape,
on doing the
and
same.
I think I might get one of those belts, the like
Work
roll
belt?
belts, like the work
Yeah.
belt, where you can like, just kind of like, have like 3 or 4 rolls there ready to go at one
Oh
time.
yeah,
All I can do is shake my head.
yeah, we could totally set up. And I was feeling the need for a tool belt the first day that we were up there because I did a lot of walking back and forth to change toys.
When you're feeling the need for a tool belt and you do not have one, that is just sad.
I'm
It
Batman.
is true. So do you guys think that in November you'll do the champagne and flogger thing again?
We
Oh,
already
yes.
discussed doing that again, and the only part of the conversation that was an uncertainty was whether or not maybe we should do a different kind of kink. But then again, I love that flogging is my, I guess, primary preferred
Oh,
impact
sure,
play.
sure. Yeah.
And people did seem to be very interested in it, and I'm sure we're going to have a
It
different
does
crowd.
probably attract more of a crowd than champagne and choking.
I do like the choking, though.
But you never know. It might be a smaller party, but it might be a good time.
I do like the choking.
Champagne and golden showers.
Oh, I remember that
There's so
conversation.
much that goes with champagne.
But yeah, so the champagne and champagne and flogging, I think we definitely need to do again. And we'll have it planned from the outset this time, so it won't. I mean, not like it suffered from being last minute. We couldn't have shoehorned 3 more people into the suite.
I know, seriously, at one point, I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm still laughing about the champagne and joking. I'm sorry. Like, it's a beautiful thing. But I feel like at some point, there became... outside of the champagne and floggers, there's like a line of humans, and then there were raccoons behind their humans that were like, okay, we're gonna wait our turn, we're gonna go in when everybody's okay with it, but like there's cool stuff going on in
I
here.
think it's pretty bad when a raccoon wants to join your party and is standing up on its hind legs and like, come on
Yes.
now, let me in, people.
Sorry, no room. Not unless you can fly.
Yes,
Do you have opposable thumbs? We're not letting you in unless you have opposable thumbs.
yeah. One of the things that didn't end up happening, because I think it was kind of an afterthought, but this was your idea, Ginger, was a brunch munch once or twice.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great idea, and I think you had the idea a little late in the trip to make it happen, but I think that's a great idea for next year, because that is, like 11 o'clock or noon is a time period when people don't necessarily have anything planned already. So if we make it low key and do it
So maybe we'll
twice,
do-
everybody will have a
So
chance.
we'll do that like Monday, or no, not maybe Sunday, like the first.
I don't
morning.
know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, brunch
Like
munch
maybe a
is
Sunday and a Tuesday. Or
it's a
something.
great idea.
Earlier in the week, so that we get the kinky people.
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree.
So I can flag the kinky people early on.
Well, and just reach out, be the evangelists that we all know we are, and reach out and let people know, hey,
Right.
this shit flies down here. Go ahead.
Or reach around, is the case may be.
Preacher. Yeah. So yeah, I love the brunch munch. I love that you guys hosted and will host again, certainly. And also looking at ways that, I mean, I don't know that we could actually, I don't want to, what's the word I want to say? Expose people more than we did this last trip. And I feel really excited about that because, you know, we were there not with a group. We did our thing together and it was super fun and super awesome. I mean, it was sexy for me.
Oh, sexy for me.
Certainly. Yeah. And it exposed people to this whole other side of maybe their
collar
sexuality.
that you forgot the key to.
Ooh.
Oh, I remember that conversation.
Yeah, sure. I told you about that.
I felt so bad for Ginger.
You mean it's my responsibility to have the key for the collar? Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry, I do not mean to laugh because I forgot my collar.
No, this is... You forgot your collar?
Well,
yes,
we were working like 24 hours at the shop to get everything done, and I never worry about working around the clock.
Blah, blah.
I never worry about working around the clock because I know I can sleep on the plane, right? So, and I said, I'll go back and get the collar, but I never did get a chance to do that. And he was doing the packing of all the toys and everything the night before, and so I kind of thought he would get my collar, and he said, you know, oh, I didn't put your collar. And I said, I'll go get it, you know, and I didn't. I failed.
That's right. And we could go through the list of things you did remember that were absolutely unnecessary, but we won't do that because I am generous and kind. Magnanimous and shit.
Oh, you're making me laugh so hard. I'm not wearing panties right now though, so be careful.
But yeah, so we're gonna do champagne and flogging again for sure. I'm sure there will be a play party, and we did have some conversations about trying to get suites next door to each other so we can throw a bigger party.
Yes.
And I will definitely make sure that my our butler has the cheese plate and the fruit plate. So all those listeners that are listening to us right now, this is an experience that I was like, JV's like, we can't throw a party this fast. And I'm like, yes, we can. That's what we have a butler for.
Yeah, and she totally gets credit for that. She's like, how are we going to put a party together? Call Raphael.
Right. And Raphael was awesome. I mean, he had all the he lined it all up. It looked beautiful when we came walking in. It was all set, ready to go. So all we needed was us and the people. And who would have thought that the room would have been like completely filled? Honestly, I thought if...
And it was completely filled to the point where people were actually in the hot tub. The not filled hot tub.
Yes.
They're like standing there like, here I'm standing in your tub because I want to watch you flog people. Like it was pretty fucking fantastic.
Yeah, the only part... So this, I'm going to sound like a Debbie Downer right now, but the only part I do not like about Desire... And we're so awesome because we get fun suites and we spoil ourselves. But they have these huge fucking hot tubs in the suite. And
that
I'm
are
like,
useless.
Do you know that could be like a whole nother bed?
Exactly.
I'm
with you there.
Let's put this thing to use. Like, do not like.
Prof, I had a whole conversation with myself about what it would take to get 2 3/4 inch sheets of plywood down there.
No kidding.
How'd that turn out, JV?
Well, it turned out to be inconvenient. But see, now that I know that the resort going up next door is probably going to be going up for quite a while, I might be able to grease a construction worker and get a couple sheets of plywood.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell you what, we'd be pushing Raphael's limits by...
We would.
He did make us Jello shots that one year, remember?
We'd have to hide them on the beach and smuggle them in at night. I
think if we asked for 2 8-foot sheets of plywood, he might be like, okay, that's my limit.
And then,
so
he's going to use a safe word.
But maybe he would just need a procurement budget. So we'll take some budget down there for stuff like that.
We'll need a mattress too, okay. Everybody?
Right. But I will say, what if it became a sex pit? What if we just threw a hell of a lot of pillows in it?
I thought about
we
that
could
because
ask for a lot of pillows.
If we were right by each other, took your pillows and our pillows and threw them in there.
That's true. Two suites worth of pillows in one hot tub could be a good time.
No, I think fucking Raphael could get us 20 pillows.
Oh, easy. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the butler experience down there is just
amazing.
Incredible. It's incredible.
I think Ginger could be onto something.
The sex pit. We're creating right now in this podcast the sex pit.
I am doing a sex pit party.
So let it be written.
And then, we'll put sheets over
It is
it.
decidedly so.
Got it all set up. It'd be really good. But our listeners out there, since you guys have been there so often, don't you just, I have to ask this because we've only been there twice, but as many times as you've been there, do you just want to keep going back as much as the first time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and, I'd like Raphael to come back and live with us here.
Okay, we might have a problem there because we're in different states and I kind
but
of
you
feel the
want
same
Jorge.
way.
Yeah.
So if we're going to be
Right.
smuggling
But Raphael-
butlers back.
I love Jorge because, I would like to have a few moments with him. But Raphael is
He's
actually
like
much
more than a few moments with him.
A few moments.
But Raphael is actually much more.
Can't believe we got this far
Nicely
into the
done.
show.
yeah, no
I
kidding.
know. I'm a little shocked, but that's amazing.
That
I think it was
is-
letting-
yeah.
Jorge will do that to you. That's for sure.
Just a few moments.
So I would say to answer that question that I'm inferring, absolutely. It's definitely a place you want to continue to go back to. And what I would say is, given that you've only been there twice, guys, like, you've gotten the experience. Like, you get it. Like, the staff knows you, the staff appreciates you, you appreciate the staff, you sink into the sexiness, and you make it your own. And whether that means you party hard and you're a costume for every night and you're dancing at the disco, or whether that means you're enjoying time with your partner and you're chilling and you're sleeping on the beach and all of the above, like, you make it your own. And it is that paradise. It is that escape. It is that place where you can reconnect. And we've never felt like, oh boy, we have to go back to desire.
Well, we've never felt that. And I would say that let me say this. We used to meet people who, when we talked to them in the hot tub, we'd say, how many times do you, and they're like, we're not sure. I don't know, maybe 9 or 10. And that was totally us. Like, we started this vacation and discussion around having uncertainty in terms of how many times that we had been. And it really is one of those things where it makes each experience so different. And I think you guys were saying that each time that we've been has been so different. It's like having the comfort of something that's familiar, but then having a very different experience from that home base. Right. And so, I'd be so interested as we continue to party and go there with you guys to continue to talk about that. But the resort and the people that we've talked about, they're all the same. They've continued to upgrade it. The pool is awesome now. The pool bar they've made awesome. So they've done all these great things to it. And all of those are fun to see. All those changes are fun to see. But it really comes back to each experience is different because they're different people and we're in different places in our own relationship and we're looking for different things. So it's the place to unwind and connect and explore, and it is always different. It is so different every time we go. So we do look forward to going back, and not to continue to belabor the trips coming up, but we're going to be back in November with the swing set, and we are going to make April a habit.
Yes.
And we'd love to do that with you guys.
Oh, we're there.
We agree. We are still
We're there.
totally on board with that,
Yes.
following our conversations on the beach. And I think it'll be a little bit of a different trip. I'm sure it'll be a smaller crowd, which I think is fine, because I think it'll hopefully allow us to keep some of that element of, relaxation that we really had this year in April.
The one thing that I'd like to say is if someone can't afford to go in November, that they start saving now to go in April because, not everybody can make the November, but if you can't oh my gosh, I hope you tried it for the April, because it's great to go there and meet up with people that you may not have actually met in person, but maybe you heard us on the podcast or you made friends with us on Facebook or whatever, and to actually meet those people and get to know them. And I have to say, everyone we've met both times at Desire are just all awesome people.
Yeah,
We've
absolutely.
met some great people.
Yeah, so we are definitely committed to doing an April trip, and we'll figure out scheduling as we get a little bit closer. We know you guys have got some life stuff that needs to impact the scheduling, but we can be fairly open in April.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense just in terms of, I think you guys said awesomely, in plenty of notice, almost a year, having a week that we set aside that we're communicating, and that your folks, your listeners, it'd be awesome to get a group of folks, and as big as it is, it'll be great. And it's just something fun that we're already looking forward to. So, as we've talked about a lot on the show, and I know we need to wrap, but we look forward to the different times we go down there for different reasons now. Mm-hmm. And having April, even though it's 11 months away in terms of upcoming trip, it is something to look forward to. And if there are some new folks that come that couldn't come in November, that would be awesome and fun, and making those folks feel welcome, and continuing to, well, I don't know if we're not taking over as much of the resort in April, so I'm not sure if we can do permanent kinksies on that bed, but
permanent kinksies, I think you've already called it.
I
Prof,
think so.
I'm going to say there were 4 of us this time, and we did a pretty good job.
That is true. That is true.
Well said, JV.
Possession is 9/10
said.
of the law, so you just gotta get there early enough.
No problem.
Yeah, so let's just commit to figure out those dates, and
that way we can put them on our podcast, and
get you guys.
Listeners can start saving.
You guys can get it out, and we'll figure out all the all the kind of way to make arrangements, and we'll just make it happen. It's worth it. It's fun.
Yeah, and I think it is, and it's probably what you guys weigh in on this. I think it was cool to do 5 days instead of 7 days in April.
Yeah.
I mean, you always want a couple more days there, no matter what. When
right.
it could be 2 weeks, and you're like, oh, let's just make it 16 days.
Yeah.
Let me just live here.
Well, there is a point at some level where you will just die.
Right.
Where Ginger drinks so much tequila.
Yes.
That,
I'm home. Now I can recover from my vacation.
Exactly.
So, I think you're right, JV, and it's a good point, which also ties to what Shara was saying, and that is, whatever you can make work, it's worth it. And if that's, it is Cancun, so you got to get down there, but if it's 4 days, 3 days, 5 days, that is enough to sink into the experience. And I think we both did, was it 5 nights? So it's 6 days, 5 nights.
Yeah, we did.
Right. And it was fun. It was
great.
It was nice.
It was great. And then I have to say, because I know we have to wrap it up, but it was so funny. We're at the airport. You guys left before us. Yeah. And so we're at the airport, and we decided that we wanted to pick up a couple gifts. And so JV starts talking to me, and I see you at the same time that he's talking to me. And I was going to yell out Ginger, but before I could yell out Ginger, Ginger's turning around going, I know that voice. And it was great to see you guys.
I did. I was like, I recognize that voice. And sure enough, of course it was you guys, of course. But yeah, that was really fun. Part of our tradition, so, when Prof and I are leaving, part of our tradition is to stop off at the Jimmy Buffett restaurant there and, top off our vacation with a little bit of reminiscing. And, I would encourage people, regardless of how long your vacation is, regardless of, what you can muster, regardless of all of those things, be together, enjoy yourselves, have a great time, and connect with your partner, and then know that all of the awesomeness that happened, like you're there with really amazing people as well. And obviously we're giving people 2 opportunities, November and April. And certainly you can go there and you can be who you are, and you can decompress, and you can nap on the beach, and you can do all these things. And it's so worth it no matter what you can make happen in your life. And I just think back, like, I had that moment, Shara, when you guys walked up and I was like, oh my gosh. And I think I jumped on both of you and gave you big hugs and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was thinking to myself at that moment, like, I'm so bummed to be leaving you guys, and I'm so bummed to be leaving this paradise. But I knew we were going to have it again. And I feel like there's something to be said about the connections that are made there, and holding on to those connections, even if you have to skip a year, even if, whatever it is, to just know that you have kindred spirits in the world. And even though we had just seen each other maybe probably the night before, when I saw you in the airport, I was like, this feels really good. And I'm so excited. And just knowing that we're going to land together again in November and again in April, like, makes me feel really awesome.
And I have to admit that like I said, I saw you and I was so excited to see you at the airport, and I was going to yell out Ginger, but before I could, you were saying, I know that voice. But I was as excited as you were, because I have to say, life on the swing set, one of the greatest things that ever happened was getting to know all of you on the through the podcast and all that, because we made such great friendships and before we even met. And so we were so excited to go on the November trip. And that's what I'd say to our listeners out there is, it's such a great group of people that you have on your list that are your listeners. And I think we have a great group of listeners. And just, if you get a chance to go, it's just an awesome experience. Life on the Swing Set really does a great job. And Shar Travel also puts a good group together. And that's my speech.
Well, sure. The only thing I have to say about that is I thought the best thing about Life on the Swing Set that you would say was getting flogged by me.
Well, I didn't know if that was a secret.
Well, she has talked about that.
Oh, yes, I have.
She has talked about
plenty.
It. So.
And then I was like, why the heck did Ginger have to drink that night? I mean, I could have been flogged by her.
Well, it will happen.
By all means, Ginger, you drink. I mean,
Eight Ball says is decidedly so. So we'll let you guys wrap.
Well, I'll tell you what, I just need a little heads up, and that sounds really sexy. And, Prof is so humble.
I am.
I mean, he's just so humble.
It's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
well, everybody should want to come to be flogged by me.
I
don't understand. I mean, it's
not
just me.
I'm
just JV.
I mean, I came a lot, right? I mean, I think that was pretty clear.
Well, we could
extraordinarily clear. You guys together,
and we are developing. I think we're even going to take it to, what's the symbiosis or the
you and JV scare me.
2 DOMs, 2 floggers. Now accepting applications, something like that.
Right.
I like it.
I'm intimidated. I may have to get into the middle or the back of the line because I need to see how this experiment works, because you guys intimidate me.
Oh, come on now. I think
a little intimidation is sexy, so that's okay.
It's fair. It's true.
I've seen you walk around with that flogger over your shoulder. It's hot. It's hot. And I'm not the only one that would say that. I mean, it's hot. You walked into that room with that flogger over your shoulder. It's hot.
Yeah. So, as the restaurant staff at Desire can tell you, we can sit around talking all night long until they actually throw us out of the place.
They did, didn't they?
True.
Yes, we were. They turned on all the lights.
You don't have to go home.
Stop bringing us drinks.
But you can't stay here.
Taking the tablecloths off the table except for ours.
Right.
They were nice about it, but I'm sure they were like, come on, people.
Yeah, so it is time to wrap it up. We could talk to you guys forever, so I'm
Yes.
glad we have another podcast on switching coming up. And,
Yes.
we will keep the audience updated, but definitely think about the November trip. Feel free to join us. There are still rooms left. We have not solidified plans for the April trip yet, but we will, of course, keep you updated as we do. The best we can tell you is it's going to be 5 days around the middle of April, and there will be plenty of notice. But if you start saving now, because it is worth it. It is worth it for your relationship. It is worth it for your peace of mind. I now tell people that I have to live in the same world that the rest of them do, but I get to vacation in the promised land. That's really how I feel.
And we've been together 13 years. And we have a good relationship, but I have to say, it's so great to have that connection that we have while we're there. That is like, it's like a subspace of all of its own for me. It really is. It's just awesome.
Yeah, so feel free to reach out to us, and we will be talking about the trips more as the episodes scroll through or scroll past, but feel free to reach out to us. I am at JVAltheros on Twitter, and Shara is at JVS_Shara, because we weren't thinking about having to read it out loud when we got her Twitter handle. Feel free to email jvaltheros@gmail.com or jvshara@gmail.com. And, of course, you can find us on our Facebook page and on our website, sexualdarkage.com, where you can download all the episodes, see funny pictures, sexy pictures, and all kinds of other filth and villainy. And more news coming soon. The website is getting a complete overhaul, so it will be way more awesome than it is right now in a few months.
Yay.
Yeah.
So thank you very much to Ginger and Prof for joining us for another great podcast. We love talking to you guys.
And Ginger, they can get a hold of you too, right? You're okay with that? Or
absolutely. We're at Ginger N, the letter, N, the Prof on Twitter. So, and Ginger at lifeontheswingset.com.
There we go.
Yeah, so thanks again for joining us. And until next time, this is JV and Shara and Ginger and Prof reminding you guys that sex is one of the greatest things in life, but there is always room for better.
Always.